sitting at my desk eating lunch, and the health ambassador from Thailand was here, and could you please come up? And I was like, sure.
Basically do what you're told.
Yeah.
I think you hit on something here, and that is that Greg's job involves that he think on his feet all the time. He's always having to respond right away to something.
Yeah, I have noticed that in the 5 years I've been there, you know, I think if you're a photographer and you're serious, you're always going to be getting better. And I'm always getting better, and I always want to be getting better because I always realize there's a lot more I could do. I could do it faster and better. But I will say that having had to figure out all these things on a constant basis, with, you know, coming from here or there and everywhere and all these different things, it has helped me a lot to be a better photographer because I had to be. You know, I mean, it has to look good and it has to be typically fast. And so I have found that that's actually, it was a bit daunting at first. At first I was pretty overwhelmed, but once I got going, it turned out to be very successful, and I like it. It's pretty neat. I don't get bored very often, but I do appreciate it when I can.
Do you have to carry multiple lenses, or can you just do most of your work with some kind of mid-range zoom?
A lot of times, I have gotten to the point now where, since Nikon has graciously come out with this wonderful 18 to 200, it's basically a travel lens, but it's a vibration reduction lens. It's not break the bank expensive, and they got me one of those, and I can take that a lot of places. Now it does only open up to 3.5 or 4, so, but it's got vibration reduction to make up for that. But I found, strangely enough, people that are talking, that lens doesn't do a good job, because even though they look like they're going like this, there's something that doesn't get sharp a lot. So I'll just take a 2.8 mid-range 17 to 55 or something like that for that. But to answer your question, now a lot of times I'll walk into a situation and I have that one lens, and it helps a lot. When you're changing lenses, you're not making pictures.
Is that long, though, physically heavy on the end of the camera?
I'm going to get to that and show you in a minute, but it's actually not. I mean, it does this weird, you know, extension thing. Feel kind of, you know, it reaches out to there, but it actually is very sharp and a little barrel distortion, but I'm not an architectural photographer, so.
Is that a D2X?
That's a D200. That's a really nice camera. I like it because it's not heavy. And so this, you all remember probably the E. coli outbreak, the famous Taco Bell thing? Well, that's what these folks are working on, and it was at the time, and I went to the Emergency Operations Center, and they're all sitting around this table, I mean, just poring over data, and they know everything about every leaf of spinach probably in the continental United States, I think. And they figured it out pretty fast. It's pretty amazing.
I thought that was green onion.
Oh, what?
Yeah, was it lettuce, spinach? Yeah.
Well, whatever it was,
Yeah.
there were charts on the wall,
It was green onions from Mexico.
and there were lists of everything, and these folks are, you know,
Green stuff is sprinkled on top of the nacho chips.
this is a case where, you know, I didn't use a flash. I didn't use a flash. I just, for cases like this, my favorite lens is a 17 to 55 because it's got a constant 2.8 aperture. And you know, once again, what am I doing here? And once again, I'm in a situation where I have to do available light. I have to do the this is probably 800 or 1,000. I stay away from 1,000 or 1,200. I think this is probably 800 wide open, and a little help from Photoshop. I definitely would not look like this without some help from Photoshop to lighten up the faces and things. Okay, let me get moving on here. This is, the press, you know, always shows up for a lot of the events, so our officials like to talk to them, and I always like making pictures of them talking to the press. It's just kind of fun. And this is a gentleman that basically worked on smallpox. I think he came up with the vaccine or something like that, but smallpox was actually eradicated from the United States until this recent terrorism threat. Okay, and this is more press conference stuff. And more press conference stuff. And here. So I thought I'd be photographing a lot of germs when I went to work there, but mostly just people. This is the Emergency Operations Center, and this is the pandemic flu exercise where they're trying to solve basically an outbreak in the United States. It's pretend, but they take it pretty seriously. These are visiting Korean health officials from South Korea, and they're getting information. They're upgrading their health systems through help and funding, probably from the CDC. Okay, this is a case where this person was very nice and didn't give me any dirty looks. I took one speed light and stuck it over here, and then used one on my camera, mostly just to trigger it. And she probably got blinded from this, but she was very gracious, and I guess I got a decent angle on the speed light, and it made for a pretty interesting picture. I had kind of fun with that. Here's a case where they're trying to figure out the proper, this is what they're doing. They're looking at this. And these are words that will appear in medical manuals and textbooks or whatever it is, and they're trying to figure out what should be there, what it means, what it should say. And this is one of the doctors. He's basically the guy that's deciding all of that. And here we are into Cali. More emergency operations. These are visiting health officials from India, and they basically are trying to upgrade their healthcare system and trade facts and information, and I think there's probably funding involved. Okay, this is the pan flu epidemic. This is not an easy place to make pictures because, as you can see, the ceiling blows out almost immediately by the time I even get close to enough exposure down here.
So when these foreign dignitaries show up, does the United States of America pay for basically international help for all these places? Are we getting funding from any other countries, or is this?
That's a really good question. I wish I knew the answer to that. I know that this part of the CDC's function is to help them to some extent, whether it's information or technology. I know there are funds involved in certain situations. I don't know if there necessarily is in this case. They might be more seeking information to model they have their own CDC of sorts, model theirs after ours. And when it gets to that point, they're pretty careful not to mention it to me. So.
It just seems like obviously our government is paying for, which is us.
Yeah.
Is paying for being the watchdog for the entire world.
Yeah, it's like, why don't these people care? They're dying in the streets and everything, and we're the ones that are trying to help them. I mean, it's a...
I bet we're paying for it. Like the United Nations. But with international travel, diseases can spread pretty rapidly.
I had a neighbor who was a doctor there, and I can tell you that we're paying for it. He flew all over the world trying to solve outbreaks in other parts of the world, and we are paying for it.
Yeah.
So we're
Paying for a lot of people right here in
not
Douglasville.
just the police force policing the world, we're also trying to keep them healthy.
Well,
other ways we're spending on them.
I mean, it doesn't obviously help our deficit any, and I don't know. I'm glad they're doing that, but just think of the monetary expense. It's enormous.
If we don't have them, and that disease comes right over here, which it would do.
Yeah, I mean,
Attorney in Atlanta was flying all over the place.
I think it's money well spent.
well,
This illness.
okay, this is more emergency operations stuff, and they're actually our military there from time to time. Okay, and now we're getting into...
You ever do any architectural stuff when they were doing all those additions, when they got that influx of money after 01?
We took some pictures of the buildings. Yeah, we did some of that.
That new parking deck out behind?
I think so. I was explicitly warned not to bring any building pictures, so unfortunately, yeah, they're really big on any building pictures being seen on the outside. So, I mean, I asked my boss, and she said, "Yeah, that's fine, whatever you want to do, but just don't show any buildings." So, okay, that knocked out a few photos.